Hi there, and thank you so much for watching the Recharge Your Life online video series. And I am your host, Phaedra Antioco, pain and trauma relief coach, an occupational therapist and somatic experiencing practitioner. And we are teaching you how to break free from those hidden traumas of the 5Ds. And right now we have Debora Wayne, who also specializes in helping people overcome physical and emotional pain with her biofield healing. And we are going to be talking so much about many great things in this interview. So get your pen and paper ready as we share Live Pain and Trauma Free, the exact path to rapidly remove the root cause and get your energy and joy back with Debora Wayne. But first, let me share with you a little bit about Debora. And she is the founder of the Biofield Healing Institute, an internationally renowned energy healer who specializes in helping people to rapidly find and remove the hidden root causes of chronic pain, depression, anxiety, trauma, battling with food addiction, binge eating, all that great stuff. And since recovering from her own health hell over 30 years ago, Debora has been immersed both personally and professionally in the healing arts. And she is the #1 Amazon best-selling author of Why Do I Still Hurt? And she is a hypnotist, does chemical dependency counseling, plus 30 years of practicing and teaching the art of meditation. So won't you join me please now with Debora Wayne, and we are going to talk about some really deep stuff, practical, functional things for you to start looking at as the root cause of any type of physical, emotional, or life pain you might be having. So stay tuned. Debora, it's such a pleasure to have you on here with us today to share your story, your experience. So thanks for being here.
Thank you for inviting me. It's such a pleasure.
Well, I have an interesting curiosity because this is a series about hidden traumas underneath pain. And I know you've experienced it personally yourself, as well as helping the clients that you work with. And one of the things that was really interesting, what you talked about, is you were going through health hell. Can you tell us about that story, what you went through and how you pulled yourself out?
Absolutely. I had a closet crisis. I'll take you back to the exact moment. It was 35 years ago already. I don't even know where that time has gone, but I woke up one morning, literally, I was on the floor of my big, beautiful walk-in closet. And I could not get up. I could not get dressed. I could not stop crying. And I couldn't go to work. And I was just in pain from head to toe. And the pain didn't make any sense. I had really, if you had looked at my life from the outside in, it looked like I had this amazing life. I had a big, beautiful home in Scottsdale, a handsome husband, a shiny new BMW in the garage, all the stuff that anyone could ever want, right? And a great job. And I was dying inside. And I had physical pain, mystery pain. Nothing was showing up on medical tests. My hair was falling out. I had ulcers, PMS so bad that I would have to lay on my back for 3 to 5 days every month. I had leg cramps, insomnia, and I was drinking myself to death just to sleep at night. And I was taking sedatives all day long because in my head, it was just this constant chatter of criticism and judgment, self-judgment, self-criticism. And I felt depressed and anxious. And I mean, it was not a pretty sight, but no one knew. I kept it so well hidden. And I'm telling you, Phaedra, this was killing me. And I couldn't take it anymore that day. You know, I couldn't fake it till you make it one more time. So that day I surrendered and I got some help. I finally told the truth and got some help. And whoa, I had no idea how all of that was going to send me on an inner journey that was really going to lead to the work that I do today. I did not have any clue this was be where I ended up, but I became very, very aware that I loved health. I loved healing. I went back to meditation practice, and whoa, I had all these amazing experiences that really rocked my world and taught me about life force energy flowing through my hands, and my intuition got really strong, and I became aware. This is what would be my path for healing myself and then sharing it to heal others. And that's the short version, but wow, this was an unexpected, not a goal.
Wow. So let me take you back to that point,
Yeah.
that breaking point.
Yeah.
What was going on in your life that might not have been working for you that was kind of the root of this?
Okay.
We always know there's other things under the pain, these root causes.
This is what I know for sure. Number one, I constantly said yes when I meant no. I
Mhm.
could not say no to save my life. So I had no boundaries. I allowed myself to overgive, overextend, constantly doing what didn't even feel right inside. That was a huge contributing stress factor. And if you do that long enough, it's like twisting a rope inside. The stress of that, the constant out of integrity, right? It's exhausting, and it made me feel really uncomfortable with myself and other people. So the saying yes when I meant no, the people pleasing, which that's part of it, but just constantly trying to figure out, what did you want? Not what was right for me or what did I want, but what did you want? And
Mhm.
trying to figure out how to be who you wanted me to be. Exhausting, the formula for exhaustion, and impossible. So both exhausting and impossible, and I was doing it constantly. Number three, big one, I took everything personally.
Mhm.
If you had a look on your face of being upset, I was sure I caused it. If you were happy, I was sure, it was me. I was like this emotionally all day long, in and out. Um,
Where did
the,
that come from, Deborah? Where do you think that came from? Did you have some experiences as a child or a young adult where that really kind of had that sink in?
yeah, all of this comes from childhood programming, all of it. I see it in my own life as I've examined it over the years. I see it in all the clients I work with. The conditioning from childhood, and it's usually the environment before the age of 8 or 9, where we're not even aware. We're just downloading from the environment we're soaking in. We're downloading the information, and it's not always verbal. It's what we see and how we interpret things. And as children, we're feeling everything. We're feeling it, and it's easy to misinterpret, and that sets the tone and the belief system for your entire future. And
Wow.
it's only until there's a crisis like this where I never examined my thoughts, examined my emotions. Phaedra, I had no idea that I was stuffing and suppressing and denying every emotion constantly. I thought it wasn't okay to feel my feelings. So I would stuff them and try to look cool and like I had it all together. Well, it just is impossible to not have emotions during life, right? It just doesn't happen. But eventually I got so out of touch with them.
Okay, I'm going to cut for a minute because we got the sirens.
I was going to ask you and I didn't want to stop.
Yeah, but also your microphone, we have to kind of maybe move the microphone or speak into it more. I tried to put a little note there, but
I should have shut that and I didn't. I forgot
let's
to.
just, let me look. That's 413. I'm just going to mark this in here. Let's go back. Where should we go back to? Let me just go back to where did this people pleasing? Can we start over there?
Yeah.
And that was 413. Cut. Okay.
So the people pleasing, oh my goodness, I definitely learned that from the environment I grew up in. Both my parents, actually, my father and my mother, were very, very other oriented. Other people's needs were more important. In fact, I grew up in a home where no matter what time of day or night, if we were even in the middle of dinner, if the phone rang, they answered the phone. If someone came to the door, like there were no boundaries over a lot of things. That's just a simple example. And I learned, even I remember on my wedding day, I was getting ready for my wedding. And my father yelled, "Come up here right away." One of his friends was there and wanted to see me. I'm getting ready for my wedding. And he wanted me to just stop and say, come up here. And I just grew up with this sense of always needing to be doing what everyone else wanted.
Mm.
You know what? That is a very dysfunctional and exhausting way to live life. Not only that, it creates a lot of internal anger. And I didn't realize how angry I was. I was stuffing that anger constantly. In fact, that's what one of the biggest needs, biggest reasons that I drank too much, and lots of that Ben and Jerry's,
Hmm.
because that
It's so comforting.
so comforting, right? And it kept stuffing it down so I wouldn't explode. But eventually the closet gets full, and I did explode, and leads to a closet crisis. So, I learned a lot of dysfunctional behaviors growing up and thought they were the way to be. And they didn't serve me. And I had to start throwing stuff out of the closet later in life and giving stuff away, give it to Goodwill. It's not for me.
And so many times, and I know you and I both work with people having a lot of pain. And I think you and I know that it's not necessarily the muscles or the bones or the nerves that's causing the pain, that there's so much hidden underneath the pain and getting to that root cause. So what is your process of working with people to help them uncover that?
Yeah, there are three exact areas that I have found that really have to fit together like a puzzle to help people thoroughly release and remove the root cause. Number one, we have to examine the thinking mind, the belief systems, the false beliefs, the beliefs that are not serving us. We have to pull those out, examine them, and literally take responsibility for throwing out what is not helpful, and sometimes literally creating new beliefs to move forward in life. Number two, the emotions. Like I was just saying, the emotions, we have to get honest, and we have to find and remove the damaging emotions. These things are real. The emotions are a force as real as electricity, and they are releasing chemicals right to our nervous system, our immune system, the organs in our body. They have a huge impact. So if we're stuffing, suppressing, denying, if we're constantly swimming in negative emotion, we have to learn how to release it, all of it. Otherwise, it turns into symptoms, physical symptoms. And then the third is the energy field. And this is, as you know, is my quote unquote superpower. My thrill in life is to really, I've found the high speed healing. And that has to do with clearing the energy field, the biofield that surrounds the body. And that's what I think is most unique about my work, in that it speeds up the healing process.
Mm-hmm.
It works on the physical, the mental, the emotional, even the financial and the relationship patterns. These are patterns, and they have disturbances that are imprinted in the field. So when I work with people, I do the work for them and clear that field. And that field is communicating with the body and the mind and the heart, and everything can shift, and it can shift like that as these disturbances drop out, because they're just very low vibration, and it's all changeable.
So let's go back to a little bit on your story. Were you always heavy in your mind and your emotions with the negativity, or were there defining moments as we talk about the 5 Ds, right? Disease, divorce, death, loss of somebody, financially overextending yourself, perhaps. What happened? Were there other triggers that kind of started the cascade?
Yeah, there was definitely an accumulation. I've had all of the Ds in my life,
Okay, wow.
all of them all together, but I have had all of them. And I don't think I had any skill sets for handling disappointment, first of all. And I was disappointed a lot because I didn't know I had very high expectations of you. And I didn't know that. And so I was always disappointed. And I expected you to mind read. So that sets
What's
you up.
that about? Wait a minute.
I also did not learn to grieve properly. So when there was death in my family and with friends, or even the death of a dream. See, I had a lot of dreams growing up.
Mm.
And I was always told, no, that you can't do that. No, that's not logical. It's not practical. When are you going to get a real job? So these dreams were dashed. Eventually I said, Uncle, I'll just do what I'm supposed to do, what I'm being taught to do. But the death of those dreams has a cost, huge cost. And I didn't know how to grieve them properly or people properly. So I've had to learn to do that. And I
Mm.
think this was building up. Also, I was afraid to get a divorce because no one in my family had ever uttered the word, and there was a lot of judgment about getting a divorce. I was the first in my lineage, and I did eventually get one, but I think the combination of the disappointments, the deaths of dreams, the death of people, and the divorce, that pushed me over the edge. And the financial came later after the divorce, but um, that there was enough to push me over the edge. Yeah, absolutely. It was inner trauma that I just thought I could fake and get over, and I minimized it instead of learning the tools to deal with it. Somebody taught me years ago when I got into recovery, very wise words. She said, Deb, the truth is the shortcut. If you try to go over or under or around, you're headed for pain. If you just tell the truth.
Let's sit with that for a minute. But boy, isn't that so true? Just so many women, maybe, or men, and they're in a relationship that's not serving them, and they just tolerate it, and it just builds up and causes more pain. Or same with the job that you're maybe in and not loving and afraid to make those changes. And I appreciate you made those changes. Maybe was it that you hit bottom, enough was enough? You couldn't handle it anymore? What was
Uh,
that inner fight? Can you talk about that so we can see if people here listening have that to pull yourself through?
yeah, well, I had constant inner chatter that was very stressful. Um, Really, I never had a moment of peace of mind. I would have given anything for peace of mind. I would have a glimpse of it, but I took a pill or a drink or that ice cream to try to get there. But that doesn't bring deep, real peace. It brings momentary relief, but it doesn't last. And
Right.
so then it takes more and more and more and more and more and more to try to achieve that again. And so, I had a very dysfunctional way of being. And I've really discovered and experienced that until the fear of changing and the fear of looking silly, until the pain is greater than the fear of looking silly, you don't change. But when that pain gets great enough, that's what happened. I was finally willing to go to
Mm.
any lengths. And, people don't have to do it that way, though. That's really the message I like to say today to all the listeners is that I wish you would learn from my mistake. Like, you don't have to go down to the basement.
Yeah.
We live in a world that tends to wait till there's a crisis to do anything. But
Mm.
crisis is not the only motivation for change. It doesn't have to get that bad where everything's falling apart.
Well, let me ask you, why is it that some people get stuck and blocked and then continue to struggle and suffer? Even though they've tried everything to heal and change, this is common. I have people, they're frustrated. They've tried everything. They don't believe the next thing is going to work at this point.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Yeah,
Why
I
are
work with
they so stuck?
so many people that have say this to me, and it's understandable, especially if you've tried a lot of things to remove your pain, whatever type of pain that is, physical, mental, financial, whatever it is. If you try a lot of things and people make promises to you and nothing works, then it is frustrating, and I understand why people get skeptical. Here's the problem is that typically we live in a world that focuses on the symptoms, the
Mm.
physical symptoms, whether it's physical symptoms in your body or physical symptoms in your wallet or your waistline. These are symptoms, and the symptom is never the root cause of the problem. Never. So if we focus on the symptoms and we try to cut it out or drug it out, it's a band-aid at best. And those waterproof band-aids, they just don't last. They fall off. And then you're right back where you started, only more pissed off and spent more money and more disillusioned. So we have to go much deeper to those hidden reasons that we're talking about. And those are the things that never show up on tests. And that most practitioners are not trained, even though they're good, they want to help you, but they're not trained to go deep enough to really look at these hidden root causes. And it is never what's appearing outwardly, even the physical symptoms. they're just, you know, I like to use the example with my clients. Picture an orange tree in your backyard. And the oranges are growing, the tree is growing, the oranges show up, but they're small and they're shriveled and they're brown and they're falling off. And they're not big, juicy oranges that you want to eat. Would you take the water and the soil and the nutrients and the vitamins and pour it over the oranges? No, you have to go down deep underneath the ground to find the roots of the tree and heal the tree from the roots, which then affects the oranges. So all symptoms, body, mind, wallet, waistline, those are the oranges. And if all you do is focus on those oranges and try to stop it,
Good point. Yeah.
right? You'll never heal the roots, never.
Can you give us some examples of the kinds of things you help people with and what results they get? Like, really, what are some of the things you found they come with X pain and the root cause is because of this? Can you share some stories?
Yeah, love to. I love these stories. I love these people. It's so satisfying to be in work where you see real dramatic transformations. And this is an everyday occurrence, which what I'm about to share with you, I know could sound a little bit too good to be true, but this is really what's possible. So for example, Caroline had fibromyalgia. Her diagnosis was fibromyalgia, arthritis, chronic fatigue syndrome. She had insomnia and she had a double cataract in one eye. In the very first session, in less than an hour, using my biofield healing immersion method, just working in her field. I didn't even do the deeper talking and emotional exploration. I just worked in her field. In less than an hour, session number 1, she was 99.9% completely pain-free for the first time in 12 years. Her spine straightened to the point where her physical therapist, the next day when she went to show her physical therapist, the therapist said, "What the hell did you do? Your spine is straight." Her vision came back. She slept for the first time in years without a sleep aid. Her energy came back. I mean, right? This is fantastic that this is possible. We monitored her for months. She became a completely new person. That's one example. Here's a dramatic example that I love as well. Sharon, when she came to me after a lot of searching with the conventional medical wisdom and then the natural medical path, she had been throwing up and vomiting and diarrhea for 9 months. She could not leave the house. She was a prisoner of her house, couldn't travel, couldn't go to the gym, was ruining her marriage. Nothing was showing up on a medical test. Baffling to the doctors. One session. Never had an episode of vomiting and diarrhea again. And you know what I found at the root?
What?
Deep emotional pain. She had no clue that these were emotions that were just, she was vomiting emotional pain, literally, and fear and anxiety and anger. And once I got her in touch with this and did the biofield healing to help bring that up and release it, so she didn't have to re-trigger the events and go through months and months of talk therapy and feeling it all again and being pissed off. No, it releases. She never had an episode again. Literally the next day went back to the gym, went back to traveling. I mean, of course, this is why people become raving fans of the work. I mean, it's dramatic in many cases. Now, some people, it's more subtle. They'll say things like, "Wow, I slept for the first time in years." But if that's subtle, think how important that is. It's in sleep where the repair mechanism, the self-healing mechanism, actually has a chance to work. If you're never sleeping, you're not going to be healing. It's where we get that deep rest. It is so needed. And as I'm sure you know, all healing begins on the inside from a state of calm. It's not out there, it's in here that has to experience calm, peace, ease instead of dis-ease. I've worked with people, God, with stage 4 cancerous tumors. I have seen in less than a month, one woman comes to mind who was told, "I'm sorry, we won't even offer you chemo or radiation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, They told her she was too far gone. It was her second bout of cancer. And somehow she found me. And I worked on her 4 times, but even after the third session, she had already scheduled an MRI. And I thought it was too soon. She went anyway. 82% reduction in all tumors after the third session. And she had a deep emotional release in the second session. Again, emotion, you hear the keyword here, right? She recognized an argument she had had years ago, 15 years ago, with her husband who had passed away. And she had a deep, deep resentment that came up, released. She was aware of it. She made peace with it. She knew she was going to be healed. And lo and behold, within a month, she was declared fully cancer-free. That's pretty exciting.
Wow, I like how you brought up this subject of that it was so long ago and it's just surfacing. It's rearing its ugly head. Can you share more examples of experiences you've had of what those root causes were, just to help our listeners get their heads thinking about some of those hidden traumas they might be having?
So there are quite a few, but here are some common ones, and that usually go way back that you may not be thinking about as having an impact today. Uh, all types of abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, verbal abuse, even the abuse of neglect. No one's there for you as a child. It makes a heavy duty imprint in the field, in the body-mind complex. And this is often what I find at the root of the weight that won't come off, the eating disorders, the binge eating, the anger well, I should say, most people aren't aware of the anger, but there's joint pain, there's migraine headaches sometimes, there's just tension and lots of different ways it can come out sideways as a label, a diagnosis that's a label. And wow, I've just seen it again and again and again, Phaedra, how the neglect and the abuse leaves damaging scars until you learn the tools to help you release it without re-triggering the trauma.
Mm.
What's also very interesting is I've worked with a lot of people with neuropathy, numbness, tingling in the hands and the feet. One woman with her whole body numb for 22 years. This woman was a Zen Buddhist. She lived in an ashram. She meditated daily. She thought she was super peaceful. She worked in an animal shelter. I mean, you know what we discovered? Deep buried rage from way back. And it started to come up. And I've seen this with numbness in many cases, that it's usually related to emotional repression.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen this again and again. Some of the other old patterns and root causes are, you mentioned it earlier, going to a job you hate. I had one client
Yep.
one client who had been diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia. And when we explored this, what we discovered, and I've seen this again and again with chronic fatigue, he was forcing himself every single day to do a line of work that his whole family, his father, everybody had done it. Everyone told him, this is what you should do. This is the only thing you can do. He hated it. And eventually he didn't give himself permission to stop. So his body gave him permission. There was so much pain. He was leveled to the couch and his wife had to go back to work. And we uncovered all of this. He got in touch with really what made his heart sing and what brought him a lot of energy. He got his energy back. He went and did that. In fact, he actually became an energy healer and trained under me. And he started doing what he loved. I mean, this is remarkable, right? This will never show up on a test. And people are missing the boat when they think these issues have nothing to do with physical pain. They do.
Right. And that whole secondary gain of pain too. It's like, well, let me make myself sick so I don't have to do this, this, and this. Or let me make myself sick so I have an excuse not to go to work in that job that I don't like.
Or I can say no to someone who's abusing me or taking advantage, right? Or I can say no and get out of work because my boss, I don't know how to set boundaries. And so I'm taking on too much and I don't know how to ask for what I need and I'm underpaid, and I'm not speaking up. This is a very huge issue. Now, I want to make sure I'm clear here. There's no blame here at all. Most people do this very unconsciously because you learn to do it like I did in childhood. You don't realize your 6-year-old's running your life. You could be 50, 60, 70 years old and your 6-year-old is running your life because of the programming you got. So don't feel now you're going to blame yourself. The blame game doesn't work. Whether you're blaming others or blaming yourself, that is not going to get you out of this. The blame game, when you blame others, well, if they would change, if this is another huge cause of pain and suffering. If they would change, I would be happy. If they would stop XYZ, I wouldn't feel like this. No. If you would get clear on exactly what you need and learning to ask for what you need and standing up for what you need and taking your power back, everything would change.
Do you have any advice, any tips on how to really practice standing in your power, how to say no, and how to have the confidence for the difficult conversations?
Well, I think, yeah, at first you have to have a mentor that's going to hold your hand because it's frightening. I remember the first time doing this, I had taken a class to learn how to talk assertively. I had to take the class 3 times.
Really? I'm like, I haven't seen one of those being offered around. Interesting.
I teach that now in my programs. I teach people a 4-step formula to speak from assertive a power center instead of aggressively or like a doormat timid mouse. Like usually we flip-flop from either super aggressive or too timid. But in the middle is a strong point. So I teach people how to do that. But usually it's so frightening. You actually feel like you're going to die when you break an old pattern. Your body might shake. I remember going through this. It was breaking such a strong family pattern for me to speak up. And there's a part of you that thinks you're doing the right thing using the dysfunctional behavior. So when you change that, it can feel terrifying. And so it's helpful to have a support system around you so that you don't think you're nuts and you stay strong. But yes, you have to learn to change your thinking and literally throw out and reinvent the thinking patterns. And you have to learn to find a safe space where you can be real, be honest about how you're feeling, and tell someone you trust who's not going to abuse you for your feelings or tell you not to feel like that, you shouldn't feel like that, or that you should learn to, change how you feel. This is not helpful. All feelings are just energy, and you need to learn the tools to feel them. And what most of us do is resist them and stuff them deep down, and that is never going to help. So you have to learn how to change these patterns from someone who's not afraid of having your feelings come up and taking you by the hand and showing you exactly how. But everyone can do this, everyone.
Because it could almost be as scary as, okay, I have to jump off this cliff now, and sometimes, so I like to say the serenity prayer, and I say, grant me the courage, and I tune into a time where I had the most courage and take that in. And sometimes in my life still, it's hard to say the things that need to be said, yet freedom, open expansion is on the other side once you speak.
It really is scary. And one of the quickest ways to get around the fear factor that I teach is deep belly breathing, because it bypasses the mind. And it's the mind chatter that's scaring you. It's the belief systems that cause the emotions. And then you buy into that and you let the emotions direct the show. But when you breathe into your low belly, the part underneath but below the navel, and you breathe 2 minutes, just expanding the low belly and a big sigh out the mouth. Guess what? You override the intellect. Your mind starts to follow the breath, and the breath starts to calm down the body, and the breath starts to calm down the mind, and you can literally repattern everything this way. And it's physiologically impossible to feel anxiety and do deep belly breathing at the same time. It won't happen. And you can retrain yourself by practicing this 2 minutes a day. Do it right when you get up in the morning or anytime you feel like you're freaking out. This will totally rewire your neural networks. And it stimulates the vagus nerve, which activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is a fancy word for saying it starts you feeling the rest and the digest and the calm that you need. So it's
Mm-hmm.
a super important tool. And you do that with biofield healing and you're going to be good to go.
Yeah, and that's what I've learned after my car accident. I had a major trauma and I don't remember it, but my body did. And then there is this, I was stuck in a sympathetic dominance. And
Yes.
so it's been really amazing doing the somatic experiencing and the trauma trainings that I've done, where I get into more parasympathetic, and that's where the magic happens. When you have the support, when you're working with someone, I'm sure it feels so good to just receive the
Yeah,
biofield healing, and you're not alone. You don't have to do it alone. Your stomach, your clients probably growl in their stomach, and just deep breaths of sighs, I would imagine, as they regulate their nervous system.
absolutely. I mean, don't you find, or didn't you find when you were on your healing journey, like it was already scary enough. So
Oh, many layers. Yep.
to feel, I always felt I was so alone, like no one would understand. And I felt very unique, like I was the only one going through my inner suffering and that I'd be labeled and judged. I was absolutely terrified of being labeled and judged. And I thought I had to always just have it together. Everything's fine. And I just never was honest with people. And, that was killing me.
Yeah, not only that, there's so many layers to whether you get diagnosed with a disease. It's the diagnosis happens. And then it's, how am I going to overcome this? Am I going to survive? Am I going to die? And with me, it was the hospitalization. It was the trauma of being in the hospital. It was the physical pain that I was experiencing.
Yeah.
And many, many, many layers. Am I going to survive? Am I going to be able to work again? And even when I think back to this day, there is the remembrance and the fear that can really get stuck. And so I work on the layers to release, release, release. And
Yeah.
it could come back. It definitely has its moments, but there are so many layers with all of this, going through divorce, going through financial crisis. There's so many layers to that. And I appreciate you bringing up the nervous system, because it's super important for all of our bodily functions.
Absolutely. And it's interesting, I'm sure you've seen this as well, where something new, even after you've recovered from maybe a major life crisis, something new will happen because you're living life. You're not hiding out in a closet. And if it's, once you hit the edge of your comfort zone and you're growing and you're trying new things, it's normal to feel uncomfortable when you hit the edge of your comfort zone, but it might resemble something from the past trauma, which may not fully trigger it to the degree, but it will recycle sometimes. So then it feels amplified. And this is where you have to have tools in your hip pocket so that you don't buy into it with your mind, you don't stuff the feelings, and you know how to release all this instead of just storing it up again for another 10 or 20 years before you work on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and with my clients, once they get out of pain, the pain's gone. They don't have that story anymore, but
Yes.
they're anticipating it, waiting for the
Oh,
shoe to
yeah.
drop.
Yes.
Or we're like, I'm fine now, Phaedra, thank you, but I'm scared out of my mind. I don't know what to do without my story and my miserableness.
Oh my goodness. So I have found this to be the next stage of the problem, that
It
everyone's
is.
looking over their shoulder. When's it going to come back? Is it going to come back? Deborah, are you sure it's gone? Because it's really gone. But they're so identified with it because they've had it around for so long. It's normal to feel that way. So again, that's why it's important to have a mentor with you on the journey in that transition between the pain being gone and reinventing yourself. And what I found is that many people are actually terrified of being big and bright and shiny and happy and successful and having good things. They know how to handle disappointment and all the downtime. They've gotten very practiced at that, but they don't know how to receive the good. So I
Mm.
find the next phase of development is where I help people and show them how to receive and how to take their dreams out into the world and become who they've always wanted and known maybe they could be, but they lost their dream or put it aside or were afraid to step into it, and maybe even feel a little unworthy, like, well, I don't know, who do you think you are, to want that. I find that's
Yeah. So you went through a lot. You went through divorce. I know you've recreated yourself in your own career. Can we speak about this to offer some strength, hope, and inspiration to someone who might be listening? Whether it's like, I really need a change. I can't do this work anymore.
yeah.
What steps can they take
Oh,
to
I love
feel
this.
better?
Great question. I've reinvented myself completely
Oh,
twice
great.
twice since closet crisis days. And wow. Okay, so here's the first thing. Number one, you have to get very clear on the desires of your heart and write them all down. Do not minimize these. The things that make you curious, that light you up, that get you excited. Ask yourself the question, if I had a million gazillion dollars and never had to work again, what would I do with my time and energy? What interests me? How would I spend my time and energy? Write every single one of those things down, because those are the keys to your next chapter.
Okay.
Really honor. And I feel like everyone needs to take a period of time to explore. It's actually a lot of fun. You don't have to like know what the one thing is. People get very obsessed with, I got to know what my one purpose is. No, there's probably not just one purpose, but there are many things you could do with your energy once you get honest about what you like and what makes you curious. So you want to take a time to explore, especially if you've been in chronic pain of any type for a long time. You may have lost your dreams and stopped dreaming. You may not know what your dream is. I
Very
didn't.
common.
I did not know. So you take a period of time and you set up adventures for yourself. You look at classes and workshops and go to the library and go online and go to places you've never been and meet people you've never met and get curious about life and what's out there. And then you have to take action. Sitting in your living room Googling and not doing anything is just fantasy land. You have to take action and try things out. And guess what? Your beautiful body that had all that pain is going to show you what's right for you. It's going to talk to you. It's going to give you feedback. Your body's going to give you constant feedback. You're going to get chills or feel like, oh my God, I can't wait to do that again. You pay attention to the feelings. That is the number one clue.
Mhm.
Not your head, it's your feeling nature. It's
This
where
is a common theme. Everyone, all the experts are talking about it. Yep.
it's the truth. It's the guiding door. Now, that's why it's important to do the clearing work from the childhood programming, because otherwise you'll get confused. It's easy to get confused by, well, is this my intuition talking or is this my programming? Once you get most of that programming, not all of it necessarily, but you'll be able to distinguish the difference. Completely feels completely different.
Let me
And
ask you this then, relating to that. So, say you have to make a decision
yes,
and it's like yes or no, and it's like
yes.
I'm frozen. I can't make a decision. Do you have any tips for that? Because it is about going in and experiencing and listening to the body. I've done that. There's sometimes I just get stuck and
Yes.
can't make the decision. And that happens with a lot of my clients. What do you do?
Well, see, the reason people get stuck is they're torn between their conditioning and their true intuition. And this is what causes confusion, by the way. Confusion is always where old ideas and new ideas collide. And this is where sometimes it does help to, again, have a mentor that you can talk it out, because especially women, if they talk it out, it releases the stress of it and you begin to hear yourself more clearly. You can use journaling, you can talk with a trusted advisor, but you have to really get clear on what's conditioned thinking. The shoulds are the indicator. Well, I should, if you have a feeling about something, if someone said to you, well, what do you really want to do? And you say, well, I really want to do that, but if there's a but, the but is always the override from the conditioned mind, the training, the hypnosis you received. And
Mhm.
you've all been hypnotized, whether you know it or not. So anytime you hear yourself say should or I don't know, guess what? The three words I don't know always comes from conditioning. Always. We always know. Our answers are right inside of us 100% of the time. And the reason you're stuck is you went into the I don't know because you had from early on probably had something like this. Whatever you loved, what you wanted to do, you were told, no, you can't do that. You shouldn't do that. That's a stupid idea.
Mm.
And you learn to shove down and deny and get rid of your true knowing. It's still there, but it's like the pilot light got dim and you don't trust it. And it takes practice, like exercising a new muscle.
Mm-hmm.
It's there. It can't go out, but it can get dim. So that's all that's happening. You're not stuck. You're not blocked. You're in two forms of thinking at the same time, the old and the new. So you've got to sort that out, throw something out, and feel into it. And you can go into any future decision and feel into it and know exactly, way ahead of time, what's right for you.
And I think we did this before in one of our interviews, but tell us what it feels like when the answer is a yes, where it's intuitively feels good, versus a no, because like we can even compare this to pain.
Absolutely.
You're around jaw clenching, your back hurts, your shoulders are up here. Probably a no.
Probably a no. Anytime there's constriction, restriction, you can't take a full breath, you feel just like drained of energy, like it's so heavy, it's often the signal of a big fat no. If you feel like, wow, if I were to do that, relief, like freer, lighter, more expanded, there's your answer.
Wow.
Sometimes I should mention, Phaedra, sometimes the decision is a tough one. And it's not something you even enjoy, have a decision you don't even enjoy having to make. But even the tough decisions will bring a sense of peace and knowing that that's the right thing for you to do. It may be hard to do, but if it's the right thing and truly coming from knowing what's best, you'll feel good about making that decision.
And then there's that layer of people pleasing, and I don't want to hurt their feelings, and I'm going to sacrifice myself and what I want and give the answer they want.
Right. You'll always know how that feels. It will never feel good. You'll go home either with a resentment, some form of bitterness. You'll feel sarcastic. I was a door slammer. So I didn't know it at the time.
I have a hard time believing that, Deborah. Wow.
Oh,
You had some inner rage, huh?
I was such a door slammer. I had no idea. I was angry, and the anger came from me always saying yes, and then resenting them for me saying yes. And then I'd slam the doors and throw the things and just, oh my God, because I was so dishonest. It was emotional dishonesty.
Wow.
And I practiced it regularly, believe me. It was not a pretty sight. I never forget once my boyfriend went around closing all the windows because I was pissed because of something I had done and said that went against what was right for me. And I was taking it out on everyone around me. I mean, this is the kind of thing that happens when we're not emotionally honest. And it will ruin relationships. It will cause a money problem. It will cause a career problem. It will cause a health problem. It will cause a weight problem. It will cause any type of problem.
And then what about the opposite? Because sometimes I know it's hard to get angry. I know for me, I'm a gentle person. Recently there is a thing now, it's called Rage Smash Rooms. So you can pay and you can go and smash things. They give you a baseball bat, a crowbar, and a sledgehammer. Yeah. And you can and I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't have that energy. I don't have like that fight in me. Yeah. Let me tell you, I had so much fun. I got in touch with rage, and I could think of my Catholic schooling, and I could think of all these little, like there's a VHS tape, and my parents tried to open a VHS store for video rentals, and it was just all came out of me, and it kind of like opened this trap door that I didn't know I had. And I'm driving the next day or the next week, and someone upset me, and I was like, I just wanted to smash something. But in a way, for me, it was a good thing to finally allow that out.
Well, it's interesting you bring this up because it was one of the therapies that I did.
Oh.
It wasn't a smash room, but I was in a very safe environment with a skilled leader, and I discovered all this rage, and I was able to express it with I had people around me that represented the people I was angry at. And and just like you, I thought, oh, I'm not angry. I'm not angry. That's ridiculous. Oh my God. I got in touch with so much rage. And we stomped on cans. So we stomped on cans and we beat pillows. And it really, really, really helped. I remember feeling like I was 10 years younger once I got that out of me. And this again is why it's so important that we get exercise and move the body, because as you mentioned, these emotions get stuck in the body. There's a cellular memory. The joints, the hip joints in particular, store emotion, and particularly anger. And if we aren't moving the body, and we're not telling the emotional truth, and we're not releasing this through methods like biofield healing or whatever, or meditating or the deep breathing, you are going to be in so much pain. And we have got to move this stuff out physically. So exercise, getting a good sweat, having a good cry. That's another thing I do with people, is have them watch a sad movie on purpose.
See, I want to say that that is very important, because I think so many people suppress those emotions. And even when they come and do an intensive with me, I have to just give them extra, extra, extra permission to let those emotions come out. So it's so painful to hold them in.
Very painful, especially men who have been programmed since
You
little.
know, I see that too.
It's horrible. I feel so bad for the men, because they have it ingrained. Don't cry, don't cry, don't ever cry, don't let on, you're going to look weak and be a sissy, and all these limiting messages, when the fact is that men have emotions as deep and rich as every woman, and their brain is wired differently, so they may not have as easy access to the emotions as the women, but they need just as much, if not more, to have a safe outlet and get this stuff out. So
when I do myofascial work on, typically men are harder to work on than women. And there is this barrier and these layers to sink, because we don't move. We sink down, 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 down. And I definitely believe that they're walled off to protect themselves wearing their armor.
very.
But I like that you like elicit the crying by having a sad movie. I think that really gives them permission to help them really open those gates up.
Totally. And, our society doesn't give us time to grieve. Somebody dies, you lose something, you move to a new home whether you want to go or not, there's a loss. You lose a job, or you quit a job, or you decide you want to move on to something greater. There's still a loss. And the disappointment of dreams, there are different losses all the time. And we don't get permission to grieve. And grieving doesn't happen like that. We have to process it. So we need these tools, and watching a movie will bring it up when you don't even know it's up. So does meditation, so does biofield healing, so does getting somatic and myofascial. I mean, that's the beauty of these methods, is that it's fast acting. It gets you in touch with things you're not consciously aware of, and it will help bring it up and move it out, because it's all made of energy.
Absolutely. And it's that co-regulation piece too, because it's really hard to do it alone. Looks like you are crying in the closet, trying to brute force it and do it alone. And it's when we connect with other humans and we have that support, whether it's working with a coach or another practitioner, to really start to feel safe again with intention.
My healing did not begin until I found one person that I began to tell the truth and trust. And that is exactly what happened. I played the alone game for years. In fact, again, another message I got in my childhood environment was, don't tell anybody what's wrong. Nobody wants to hear your sad stories. And if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. I walked around saying, it's fine, I'm fine, everything's good. And it was a lie. And until I told the truth, I didn't start to heal.
Yeah, I recently had a huge loss in my life. Someone I know committed suicide. This was a person who looked like he had his stuff together, good looking, successful, real great career, was, really connected in the trauma world. We were all just so shocked and devastated. He didn't reach out for help. maybe worried about what other people think, or if I got to look this way or that. I know I've had days where I'm really hurting and I feel ashamed to reach out, but I eventually do and I feel better. So that is a huge point. If anyone's listening today, please reach out to anyone. Email us. Let us know if we can help you, because there is a way, there is hope. You and I see it all the time.
All the time. I'm so glad you brought that up, because that's where I was at in the closet. I was getting to the point of having suicidal thoughts, and it came purely from not sharing with anyone what was going on. There was such a bad buildup, and I
Mm-hmm.
have buried many, many people as a result of them not reaching out for help. And I'm telling you, this is the sad fact. So many people living on drugs to try to numb out when they could reach out because they are embarrassed and ashamed. And you know what? There's no judgment. There's just no judgment. This is just, nobody's teaching these tools. You don't learn it in school. Rarely have I ever seen it in any religious service I've been to. I mean, we hear about forgiveness and love, but then it's like, well, good, bad, right, wrong. That message is woven into so much of our culture. And again, I'm all for religion and all kinds of tools. I'm not saying I'm not, but I found, and personally, and with most of the people I work with, they have a punishing God, and they have punishing parents, and they've projected all of the punishment from parents onto their God, and they've never sorted all that out, and they're constantly afraid of being bad or wrong, and so they don't share. They
Mm-hmm.
keep it in. So
Yeah, and sometimes I know, working with people in pain, they might say, the pain is so bad, I wish I were dead. I
oh,
wish I could just kill myself and it
right.
would be over. But what you're bringing out today, what we're talking about in this series, is there are ways to get better. There's ways to get help, and it might not be treating the symptom. You've got to go and look at the root cause, as you said, your people-pleasing behaviors. Learn how to start saying no and feel safe about it. Find a person you can be accountable to. Hey, I've got this challenge. I have to go speak with my boss. Would you support me? Send me a text and kind of get my mojo up, my confidence up, so I can do that. Because there are other ways than just surrendering and giving up.
Absolutely. And, this sense of I want to get out of this. I just want out. What you want out of is a feeling.
Ah, yeah.
And feelings aren't going to kill you unless you've judged them as bad and wrong and you never learn how to release them. It's just energy. And energy has to go somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So think of it that way, and that might help you take the judgment off and just get some help with someone who's knowledgeable about feelings and how to release them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So much of that is true. It gets held. And I like the idea of the belly breathing you talked about. And I can just imagine, if I'm feeling trapped in an emotion, I could just almost breathe that emotion in and exhale it out.
Absolutely. It
So
will
that's a
start
good
to
tip.
dissipate the energy of it that you're holding on, resisting. It will start to dissipate.
Mm.
That alone really helps shift many, many people, and they feel better. And when you feel better and you're in a calm space, you make better decisions. You think more clearly. You don't get reactionary. You can respond instead of react.
Oh, beautiful. And to help support our audience, you do have a free gift, which I love the title of your book, Why Do I Still Hurt? Rapid Relief for Chronic Pain, Depression, Anxiety, and More. Share about your book.
Yeah, the book is more workbook than just book.
Oh, good. Workbooks are great.
It's a book with the foundational information and understanding of all the work that I do about the root cause. It goes deeper into what we've been talking about today, but it has specific exercises throughout the book to get you thinking and to get that unconscious mind of yours to bring up and bring into your conscious awareness what might be happening beneath the surface that you haven't discovered yet. So it will help you get to those deeper hidden reasons if you've been hurting. And the book is designed for anyone with any type of pain. So it doesn't have to just be physical pain. If you've had any type of emotional pain or pain patterns that keep showing up in your relationships, your career, it could be the financial problem pattern.
Yeah.
Yep. It could just be a sense of feeling like, what am I doing here? Like, I don't know what to do with my life. I don't have a purpose, a reason for being here. This will help you. So
Yeah,
grab,
that's so funny because, you and I both, we talk about pain a lot. And I get people that say, oh, I don't have any pain.
right.
But really, we all have some degree, we all experience pain. A pain of
Yes.
a painful decision I have to make, a job that I'm not liking, the stress that I'm feeling, someone hurts me, and my friend isn't showing up for me. I mean, there's so many layers of pain in this human condition.
Yeah, this human condition is filled with pain, and it's a great teacher, and it's an illusion to think you'll never have any.
Mhm.
So we need the tools for dealing with it when it comes up, and
Mm,
to be honest about it and not feeling ashamed of it either.
That's because doesn't the shame cause more pain?
God, the shame is the worst because the shame will implode and really cause you to isolate and pull back when at the very time when you need to lean in and get the help.
And another thing you offer for getting help, you have a day of biofield immersion. What's that about?
Oh my goodness. This is my favorite online virtual event. It's one day, a deep dive into my work. And on the call, we split it up. Oh, you'll spend over 5 hours with me, and we split it up so wherever you live in the world, there's a time zone that will work for you to attend live. But it does work even just listening to the recording, and we record the whole day. But on this day of healing, I'm going to share with you the top 13 reasons that I have found over the past 30 plus years that are the root causes. I'm just going to hand that to you. You'll be able to find yourself on the list, and then we're going to start moving that stuff out in different ways. I'm going to work with people live on the call. You'll be able to raise your hand, ask me questions. I'm going to take you through different processes to release those beliefs, release those emotions. And then my favorite part, there will be 2 full sessions, one in the morning and one in the afternoon, of my biofield healing immersion method. And this is the high speed healing that will get into your unconscious mind, that will bring up emotions you may not realize are there, and start to move the energy patterns of all of this out. And people have very dramatic change on the one day healing, life changing. I've had people with MS get up and walk for the
Mhm.
first time.
Wow.
There's a wide range of possibilities. So it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of awareness. It's a very interactive workshop type of environment. And I would love to help you on that day.
Oh, great. Well,
Oh,
this
and
is
I
such,
forgot to mention,
oh, yeah.
it's half off for your listeners. So
Oh,
the
great.
link will give you 50% off the normal tuition for the day of healing.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed our conversations today. And I think, if you're listening, really take heart, look at this, get Deborah's book, read through it, figure out what you can do. Take one simple action step, one simple thing to shift your vibration. So thank you, Deborah. This was great.
Thank you so much for having me, and thanks everyone for being here today.
And where can people find you?
Oh, please go to my website. It's www.biofieldhealinginstitute.com. Biofieldhealinginstitute.com. You'll find lots of resources there, and reach out to me. I would love to help you further. You'll see all the various ways you can work with me, and it would be a real pleasure to help you.
Oh, great. Thanks, Deborah. Wow. Well, that was looking at the root cause on money levels. I really hope that you found some information out of this interview that you can then take and really start examining what's going on inside. What are your belief systems? What emotions are you having? What are triggering your emotions? And I love the fact that you said, you're not going to die from an emotion. Sometimes it feels pretty strong like that, right? So thanks for watching. If you love these interviews, you're gaining value out of them, and you want to own them, go ahead and purchase the All Access Pass. And with it, it has some nice bonuses, including mapping trauma in your body, which which is a 5-day journey of me helping you uncover those traumas and the way that you might be interacting with the world. And not only that, you get a one-on-one private session with me, you and I connecting on video, and we'll help you break free from some of those limiting beliefs, some of those hidden traumas, and just uncover it. And I'll give you some action steps to help you really move through it, give you actionable steps that you can do to make those changes. All right, have a wonderful day. I look forward to seeing you on the rest of the Recharge Your Life series.